Good day and welcome to News Brief, TVJ's look at the top news stories of the week that was. I'm Herman Green. St. Thomas businessman 51-year-old Michael McLean has been given 6 life sentences for the murder of a family in St. Thomas 12 years ago. The sentences were handed down on Thursday by Justice Bertram Morrison. Justice Morrison said McLean must serve 60 years behind bars before being eligible for parole. With time served already, the figure was reduced to 48 years. Justice Morrison said the murders were premeditated and McLean slaughtered the victims. He described the killing as outstandingly bad and evil. The judge said it was sad he could not give McLean the death sentence. In his final address before the sentence, McLean lashed out at the state, saying he did not get a fair trial and, quote, an innocent man is being sent to prison, end quote. Terry and Mohammed, Patrice McCool and their children, 8-year-old Jesse Ogilvy, 9-year-old Sean Chin, 6-year-old Jade McCool, and 3-year-old Lloyd McCool were found murdered on February 27 with stab wounds and their throats slashed. The Director of Public Prosecutions and the state are heading for a showdown over the decision by former Security Minister Peter Bunting to grant immunity to 3 JDF soldiers who were charged for the 2010 murder of businessman Keith Clark. That after Justice Glenn Brown stopped the trial until September 17 for the full court to decide if the immunity was legal.
There has been uncertainty as to whether JDF soldiers Greg Tingling, Odell Buckley and Arnold Henry should be prosecuted for the killing of businessman Keith Clark. Mr. Clark was shot dead in his house in St. Andrew in 2010 during the hunt for then-fugitive Christopher Dudder-Skog. The case stalled on Monday after the attorney representing the military men presented documents in court showing they were granted immunity in 2016 by then Peter Bunting. When the matter was again brought before the court on Wednesday, Justice Glenn Brown ruled that the proceedings in his court be put on hold while referring the matter to the full court. The Director of Public Prosecutions, Paula Llewellyn, was not pleased with the decision, urging Justice Brown to continue the trial. Ms. Llewellyn told Justice Brown that the decision of former National Security Minister Peter Bunting to issue certificates of immunity 4 years after she indicted the soldiers amounted to an interference in the office of the DPP and is a breach of the Constitution. She argued that the regulations used by the minister to sign the certificates of immunity expired on June 30, 2010, and those signed in 2016 are not valid. The DPP said she exercised her constitutional powers to indict the JDF soldiers in 2012, and for the minister to sign the certificates of immunity after that development is a clear interference of her powers to start the prosecution. She said Mr. Bunting's decision cannot erase her decision. This, however, drew a sharp response from attorney Paul Beswick, who is representing the JDF soldiers. Mr. Beswick slammed the DPP and urged her to stop accusing the minister of corruption.
The Police High Command launched a major investigation into allegations of death threats against former National Security Minister Robert Montague. Law enforcement officials in the United States are helping local police personnel with the investigation, which includes a number of jurisdictions.
Bounty on Bobby. New York gun smugglers in alleged plot to kill former National Security Minister. Chilling words on the front page of the Sunday Gleaner. Members of the criminal underworld are reportedly upset with the former National Security Minister because he is handing over scammers to the United States. The Jamaica Constabulary Force later confirmed on Sunday that it has launched a multi-jurisdictional investigation into allegations of the threats against Robert Montague. They are being assisted by law enforcement officials in the United States as the threat reportedly came from overseas. The JCF says it takes all threats seriously and investigates them, adding that actions have been taken to cover the minister's safety and security. In reacting to the news, opposition spokesman on national security Fitz Jackson said it's unfortunate and urged the police to quickly deal with the matter.
It cannot be the case that those who lead the fight against criminals, they themselves are put under threat by those whose business is to cause harm and destruction in the Jamaican people.
Meanwhile, the Sunday Gleaner report also described the gun route to Jamaica, from the United States to the Bahamas, then Haiti, and to Jamaica. The men usually travel by boat or small aircraft.
And I hope that the JCF and all the other security personnel do not relent in this effort to identify those who are responsible for making guns available to the Jamaican criminal underworld and to take the necessary steps necessary to bring them to justice.
Symbiote Investments Limited has appealed to the government to reconsider the decision to revoke the company's telecommunications license. Symbiote, which trades as Carousel, was last week notified by a letter from the Technology Minister that the Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, had recommended that its license be revoked because the company failed to provide requested information. But the company has written back to the minister pleading its case. In the letter dated April 11, 2018 from Symbiote Limited, which trades as Carousel, to Technology Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley, the company outlined two main reasons supporting its request for a reconsideration to the decision to revoke its license. Firstly, the company argued that it had responded to the Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, when it recommended its license be revoked before the stipulated date of December 1, 2017. Symbiote presented a letter dated November 22, 2017 to support this. It's therefore questioning whether Dr. Wheatley's failure to acknowledge the letter is an oversight. It is also questioning why the company was not offered an opportunity to appeal the decision. Symbiote notes that Section 60 of the Telecommunications Act gives it the right to apply for reconsideration of the decision. It made that application in its letter to Dr. Wheatley. The company is also urging the Technology Minister to stay the decision to pull the license until a final determination is made. A monumental ruling by the Trinidad and Tobago High Court that the Buggery law is unconstitutional has created a stir in the region. However, some local groups say they were not at all surprised by the ruling.
Members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex and asexual community, LGBTQIA, reacting to Thursday's ruling in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad's Newsday reports that a High Court judge in that country ruled that the Buggery law was unconstitutional and null and void. The Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago has already given instructions to appeal the ruling. For now, though, this was the reaction from gay rights activist in Trinidad and Tobago, Jason Jones.
It was a stunning victory for human rights and for all Trinidad and Tobago citizens.
But for the leader of a Muslim group in Trinidad,
all laws made by men are secondary to the laws of God. We will not compromise them. We cannot compromise the law of God.
in 2016, a Belizean court ruled that its Buggery law was unconstitutional. Jamaica has a similar case before the courts, as gay rights activist and attorney-at-law Maurice Tomlinson is challenging Jamaica's Buggery law. For Dr. Wayne West of the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society,
I am not at all surprised. It's exactly what we expected. It's clear, based on the Belize case, that a well-placed power brokers are using a sort of set play of strategic legislation to impose the LGBT political ideology on the Caribbean people. What the Caribbean people have to do is to do exactly what Bermuda did. When a similar bit of judicial activism was imposed on the people of Bermuda, they voted out the government who did nothing about it and put a government in place that did something about it.
And we take a break, but stay with us. News Brief will be right back. Welcome back to News Brief as we continue our look at the top news stories of the past week. I'm Herman Green. Residents of Mount Salem in St. James have called for an end to the politicization of the issues affecting the Cornwall Regional Hospital. After months of comments from experts and politicians, the people who are impacted mostly by the changes at the hospital have weighed in on the debate.
Deep in the heart of St. James is the Cornwall Regional Hospital. Here, for the past 40 years, it has served the West as the only Type A facility. From births to critical services, it's the hospital residents in the western section of the island depend on.
Oh God, man, let me tell you, this is like, you know, you leave your house, you're going on the beach to enjoy yourself. You know you're sick, you know that they are there for you.
Cornwall is my life right now.
Most away, Cornwall Regional Hospital now, well away born.
But the hospital, which means so much to so many people, is facing its own set of challenges. Persons we spoke with pointed specifically to the Accident and Emergency Department, which was recently set up.
You'll be there for like 3 days, no bed, just chair sitting there. And doctor hardly come to assist you and stuff. It's really sloppy. Over there, son, look like hospital.
What it look like?
Well, we don't even know what it look like. It look like a church them a plan to keep or something. Or some convention with a tent them put up over there.
But while those persons voiced their discontent, others saw things differently.
The service is not that bad. You know, everybody has to wait. Because the volume of people that comes here and stuff like that, we just have to wait.
Look here, this is in emergency, never used to be like this before. So live with it no man till then they're working on it. See, there's a building last week I come is only they put on the roof. There's something going on. It's not like you sit down and them don't care their hand full. No.
The building this lady is referring to is this one. It's the newly relocated accident and emergency unit. The noise it generates is a nuisance to many. But with the crisis at hand, are persons being unreasonable?
People in general, just, and I haven't say complain, but them just chat too much.
We have to live with the consequence of all what happened there. They're trying. We could work with it. It can't happen. Stop saying he can't walk. He can't walk.
Trying is one, but they're not. I don't think they're really putting out enough effort to assist patients.
Now what you're looking at just behind me is the hospital's main building, which was recently shut down. Now most services are still available here on the compound, but others have been transferred to hospitals such as Falmouth and Savlamar. The residents here, however, say they fear the impact this could have on the community.
They will put more pressure upon the resident them. They give me a say, a matter of fact, who to tell, probably more life I go last, because by the time I have to go up on a journey, all the way I go to Falmouth at about 25 minutes drive.
A revived push for support in the call for reparation from Europe for slavery is on the horizon. That's according to the National Council on Reparation, which has been building Jamaica's case for compensation for the injustices of the slave trade. Representatives of the National Reparation Council were guests at the latest RJR News Forum. Hundreds of years of the atrocities of slavery directly linked to poverty, social and even health issues currently being experienced in regional societies. That's the basis for the continued push for reparation from European countries to Caribbean states, including Jamaica. But after almost a decade of research and seeking dialogue with European governments, President of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and National Commission of Reparation member Stephen Golding says disrespect and disregard are the main hurdles being experienced.
I mean, we just found out that the British Treasury has just paid off in 2015 monies taken out to pay the so-called slave owners, to compensate them for their loss of the people they had kidnapped, raped, brutalized, and were continuing to do so. That means that Jamaicans and other African descendants living in the United Kingdom up to 2015 were paying taxes to pay back that loan. Now, isn't that not adding insult to injury? First of all, you're questioning whether we have a right to reparation, and then you are making us pay back money to those who brutalized us. This is ridiculous.
Additionally, co-chair of the council, Professor Vereen Shepherd, says Britain's response to Jamaica has been insulting.
Remember, the former Prime Minister of the UK came here in 2015 September. Now, this is way after February, when they had just finished paying off the loan.
We should move on.
And said we should move on and forget about it and go forward as friends.
Professor Shepherd says European countries, including the UK, France and Spain, are among those who have given unfavorable responses to the question of reparations. However, international human rights and environmental attorney Jodian Quarry remains optimistic there will be a breakthrough in talks. She says there are roadblocks.
But there is an opportunity given to us that we may not have had before, which is Brexit, which means that for the first time the United Kingdom is coming back to its former colonial holdings and saying, as members of the Commonwealth, hey, come talk to us, come negotiate. India has made it very clear, for example, that they will not negotiate with the United Kingdom unless the UK takes more Indian engineers. It therefore means that there is a shift in the balance in the universe, and therefore a discussion can happen now in this gap that possibly could not have happened before.
Another and possibly more detrimental challenge is the lack of local support for the push to get reparations. The committee is planning a stronger public education campaign to generate more interest. The chaos on the Mandela Highway continues to frustrate motorists and has been made worse by the state of public emergency in St. Catherine North and the road improvement project. The delays are even more lengthy because there are no laybys for buses and vehicles to pull over.
Gridlock on Thursday morning, a part of regular frustration for motorists during peak hours in recent times. The delays are largely caused by the construction work to improve the Mandela Highway. But it is getting worse because of spot checks by members of the security forces operating under the current state of public emergency in the St. Catherine North Police Division. When vehicles break down or if there is an accident, as occurred on Thursday morning, the delays are even longer because there are no laybys to pull over.
Well, I come in and when I reach down there, so one car man come over for me. So I take away from him now and the wheel touch one of this. The front wheel touch one of this and blow.
The domino effect is traffic extending from Ferry in St. Catherine to as far as Central Village.
If you notice how some of them in and some out, them project the thing and some not straight.
Before the team actually got there, you know, somebody else might have hit that same barrier. I'm not sure what the situation is, but I do know that we have had to we have had to be very vigilant in fixing these barriers in the original position because of persons knocking them.
Communication and Customer Services Manager at the National Works Agency, Stephen Shaw, says the traffic nightmare now being experienced by motorists is temporary.
We only had enough space to accommodate the 4 lanes of traffic with a temporary median separating the east flow from the west flow. We did not have, or we do not have, space there for persons to pull off.
He is assuring motorists that things will improve in a matter of months when the Mandela Highway is improved with more lanes.
We didn't just happen to come to this place, meaning persons are driving on a nice bit of road for 3.4 kilometers. It took some time. It took a lot of patience. And we are saying to the motoring public, we are asking them, just be a little bit more patient.
The candidates contesting the by-election in St. Thomas and Clarendon were duly nominated on Tuesday.
It was a close race in 2016, and from all indications, the by-election in the Yellows Division of the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation on April 27 will be close again. The PNP's Constantine Bogle, who is contesting the election again, lost by 125 votes in 2016. He challenged the result on the grounds that the then JLP candidate, Dean Jones, was not duly elected because he was employed to the government at the time of his nomination. The court agreed, forcing the impending by-election. Mr. Bogle is confident he will win this time.
My duty is to do what I have to do, which is to present my plan to the people of Yellows, and they must decide at the end of the day what they think best.
Confident too is the JLP's candidate John Lee, a late entrant in the by-election race, after Dean Jones signaled on Monday that he will not seek re-election. He, however, accompanied Mr. Lee to the nomination center.
It's already there. You can feel the atmosphere, you can see everything. It's already there.
There was also nomination proceedings in the Maypen North Division in Clarendon today. The seat at traditional JLP stronghold, the people in green out in their numbers behind the party's candidate Tanya Lee Williams. Ms. Williams told our correspondent Hopeton Henry that come April 27 she will be taking over the Maypen North Division, a big seat to fill after a sweeping victory by the JLP in the last local government election.
The love and the warmth, and coming from my strong JLP background, something that was started from my grandfather's days. I have training, I have good mentorship from Mr. Henry and from from Councillor Joel Williams as well. I am very confident that I will take this home come the 27th of April.
But it was a quick turn of events for the People's National Party's Earl Blake, who was nominated today, replacing the previous candidate Vivian Allen.
As part of the management team for the parish, we had 2 candidates offering themselves for the post, and we interviewed them, and Earl Blake came out to be on top. Why he's chosen to be the candidate at this time.
And so far on the ground, among the people, the expectation is very high, because the people they're calling for a sit down under bondage for so much years. They're calling out to me, and I answer their cry. There is their time now to go out and just vote.
The Maypen North by-election was necessary after the passing of former JLP councillor Melvin Jones in December.
And that's News Brief for this week. Thanks so much for watching.